Coming up on this edition of ATV News.
I just don't want it to spread.
We'll tell you if Logan fire crews were able to stop this fire from making an entire apartment building of renters homeless.
The ammonia from the automobiles is not insignificant.
We'll tell you why USU engineers want to know how much ammonia is coming out of your car.
It produced a big crisis of face for a lot of people.
We'll show you what connections a famous forger and convicted murderer has with Utah State.
If it's March, you know I'm doing brackets and sports, but not the typical ones.
In weather, I've got some tweets that might make you smile, but my forecast probably won't.
All that and more, this is ATV News.
I'm thankful that I've been taught to be prepared in case of an emergency, no matter what it is.
That is a renter at the apartment that burned last night in Logan. Everyone got out safely. Welcome to this edition of ATV News. I'm Leah Kershoni.
And I'm Kaylee Foster. That was a 2-alarm fire drawing units from Wellsville and Hiram.
The fire alarm went off in my apartment, and I was on the phone, so I got off and I decided to see what the problem was, and turns out there was a fire.
Fire crews arrived at this apartment complex to smoke and flames coming from the 3rd floor. Crews fired up chainsaws and climbed to the top of the building because of the fire spread to the attic. Fire and water damaged 3 apartments, but the renters in the rest of the units were able to get back in. The Logan Fire Department is investigating the cause of the fire.
New cars and their catalytic converters are dumping ammonia in the air. I'll show you how USU researchers are putting that to the test.
This 1969 American Motors Rebel is among the 50 cars that the Utah State University Engineering Department are testing.
The project started from the fact that here in the Cache County we have high concentration of PM 2.5. So when the researchers did their studies, they found out that most of the PM 2.5 are made of ammonium nitrate. So that's why we have to study where does the ammonia come from.
Researchers want to find out how much ammonia is coming from vehicles.
We have the car running on the road on a real driving test, and we want to know with all the different things we would have in a real driving test, like uphill, downhill, traffic lights, stop and go. We want to know what are the effects of these real driving patterns on the concentration of ammonia.
Researchers say that when it comes to old pollutants, this car is 98% cleaner than this car. So you can drive 2 of these for the pollution that one of these puts out.
As time goes on, we're getting more and more newer cars which are more tightly controlled for the typical pollutants, and fewer of the older cars which are higher emitters of the typical pollutants.
Newer cars cleaned up CO, NOx, and hydrocarbons, but now we have a byproduct that contributes to PM 2.5. But Martin says there are a few things drivers can do to reduce the ammonia pollution.
So by just trading in an older car, or at least driving your newer car on a bad air day, you're reducing your footprint by as much as 98%.
And if you are on a budget,
Not driving on the bad air days, stay home, go to the grocery store the next day. Just try to think about every time you get in your car, you're adding to the pollution burden.
Leah Kershoni.
The results of this study haven't been published yet.
USU will have higher tuition next year. Do you know how tuition is determined? University tuition is not a fixed cost. Each year it changes. There can be an increase or a decrease, like every budget. If you want to decrease the overall cost, cuts are made. This is all looked at when determining student tuition.
In a nutshell, state says wages go up by 3%. The school for higher ed, 75% of that 3% is covered by the state, 3% the schools have to find.
Students should expect their tuition to increase 2.9%. Utah resident students will see a $98 increase per semester, and out-of-state students will see a $314 increase per semester. On the Eastern, Moab, and Blanding campuses, residents will have a $53 increase and non-residents will have a $158 increase in tuition. For the 2021-22 school year, student fees will remain the same.
And now for an update on the number of coronavirus cases in Utah. There have been over 3,000 new cases in Utah with over 14,000 active cases, and the total number of cases in Utah is over 375,000. In Cache County, there have been 23 new cases with over 500 active cases, and the total number of cases in Cache Valley is over 15,000 cases. At USU, there are 4 new cases with 62 active cases and over 3,000 total cases. That's less than 1% decrease from last week.
Murder Among the Mormons is a new documentary about Mark Hoffman, a convicted murderer and forger who graduated from Utah State. William Boltez joins us live from the basement of Merrill Kazir Library to show us connections Mark Hoffman has with the USU Special Collections.
Yeah, I'm here at USU Special Collections, where they actually have a few copies of Mark Hoffman forgeries and one artifact from his time here at Utah State you can actually interact with.
Murder Among the Mormons is a new documentary from Netflix about the murders and forgeries of Mark Hoffman.
Mark Hoffman had produced what's known as the Salamander Letter. And of course, at the time, nobody knew that it was a forgery. He recognized where the gaps were in history, walking the shelves of the USU library, but lots of other libraries all around the country. That's what led him to be able to see where the gaps are.
Although he may have begun experimenting with forgeries while at Utah State, the only artifact Hoffman left behind is an old chair that sits in a hallway in USU's Special Collections.
He was good friends with A.J. Simmons, who was the head curator in Special Collections at that time when he was going to school.
Mark Hoffman had long conversations with the Special Collections director in this chair about old Mormon documents, some that he may have even forged himself. Documents like the Anthon transcript, which are said to contain characters written by Joseph Smith around 1830.
These are 2 copies of the Anthon transcript, which was a forgery created by Mark Hoffman. I believe it was sort of his first major forgery.
Hoffman gave this copy to Leonard Arrington, who Davis says was the best-known Mormon historian in the world.
It clearly says that this transcript was discovered by Mark Hoffman, so Arrington believes that this is a legitimate document.
This is just one book at the USU library about Mark Hoffman, his forgeries, and Mormon history. After killing 2 people to cover up his forgery of the Salamander Letter, he was arrested and many of his forgeries were discovered. He was moved from maximum security in Draper to Gunnison State Prison in 2015. Back to you at the desk.
Thanks, William. Murder Among the Mormons is available for streaming on Netflix.
Aggies tried to show they know more than other schools about running a dairy at the Western Regional Dairy Challenge. Every year, the USU Dairy Science Club competes in a regional and national dairy challenge. Typically, students from each region are placed on teams with members from different universities to compete the challenge to find ways to save farmer money instead of traveling and being on teams like they would in other years. USU students met in a classroom on campus to evaluate a California farm.
They made it a Utah State team this year because we did really well together. We got to work together, and since we know each other, we know our strengths and we know our weaknesses, and we actually got to place second of the Western region, so that was really exciting.
The students looked at the farm's financials, heard records, photos, and videos to come up with recommendations for the farmer. Hey Kaylee, have you ever been to a farm?
Yeah, actually I kind of grew up on one.
Oh really? No way.
Yeah, a dairy farm to say the least. And coming up.
The goats are actually genetically modified.
These goats don't have 8 legs, but we'll show you why they share some of the same DNA as spiders.
We won't be able to tune the same amount of bicycles.
We'll show you if you can still use Aggie Blue Bikes to get to your class.
And coming up, Kiki Tuleta breaks down the 7-day forecast. The current temperature in Logan is 42 degrees.
Hey guys, welcome to Weather. I'm here and I've got the national forecast right here behind me. If you can see, there's some here kind of by North Dakota. If we take a look at our state radar, it's going to look almost exactly the same. It's gonna look almost exactly the same. We're gonna have some precipitation that's coming up more towards St. George, and it's going to.
They may look, sound,
in the central part of Utah. There's not too much going on in the central part of Utah, but you're gonna see up here, kind of towards Cache Valley in the northern part, we do have some precipitation that's moving north. Now, to kick off the 7-day forecast, I've got some tweets that I found that I want to show you guys that I thought were very applicable. The ones that we've got is one of our favorite fish dads from Disney, Marlin. He says, "Is it a little cold out today, or is it just me?" No, Marlin, it's not just you. We're getting catfished by the sun. It's sunny, but it's freezing, so you're going to still need a jacket. But the tweet that I like the most is this next one. "I've never felt more seen and called out at the same time. Seasonal depression seems fake until it's randomly 50 degrees in March and you feel like you took a party drug." Well, let's see if we can keep that party drug feeling going by looking at our 7-day forecast. If you can see, our low is going to be here today. We're going to hit our low of 22 degrees, but our high is going to be 50 degrees on Sunday. Thank goodness it's called Sunday, because the sun's finally going to be coming out. It's going to be cloudy this week, but it's not going to be too bad. There are very low chances of precipitation, but overall, it's going to be pretty dry. And you're all caught up on your weather. Back to my ladies at the desk.
Thanks, Kiki. What do you get when you mix a goat and a spider? Sam Walker showed you USU biologists who are mixing DNA to further research.
They may look, sound, and act like your average goats, but these goats have been biologically mutated in order to
express one more protein in the milk. That's their only difference. Behaviorally, functionally, visibly, they're just like any other goat.
That new protein is from spiders, in particular the production of spider silk.
Now, it's under the control of a promoter that only allows that protein to be expressed in the milk.
If they're losing milk, their body will want to replace it. So that's why we milk twice a day. It's make sure that their bodies are losing the milk, and therefore it's saying, okay, we need to replace that.
Goats like 323 here can produce up to 1.5 gallons of milk each day by using this contraption. And the workers say that milk can go on to do great things.
The goats have really allowed us to advance the science.
With milk from all the goats, the researchers
have enough quantity of those spider silk proteins to begin to prototype and begin to experiment.
These researchers are excited about the possible findings because
spider silks are one of the strongest natural materials known to man.
And it's
stretchy, similar to tendons, but it's still very durable and it's biocompatible.
Well, that's why we're exploring this. We have to find another way to produce it, and goats have absolutely been a stalwart of that effort.
The researchers say,
I do enjoy what I'm doing out here most of the time. Goats can be kind of a pain, but I do like being part of the big picture.
Sam Walker, ATV News.
The researchers are hoping to make prototypes out of the spider silk for prosthetics, clothing, medical instruments, and other materials.
Will you still be able to rent a bike for free? With Aggie Blue Bikes facing budget cuts, Josh Davis takes a look at what the future might hold.
Bells, wheels, and gear shifters, you have arrived at Aggie Blue Bikes.
The cycling community is like really strong, even in a small town like Logan.
Aggie Blue Bikes provides bike loans that are free for students. Mechanics say that it has become a tight-knit community.
Whether you are a customer or a mechanic or just a member of the community, there's always somewhere you can go and you can be comfortable here at Aggie Blue Bikes.
Founded in 2005, the statesman from that year says the program started as a solution to air quality problems. Employees today say it has become transportation for lower-income students and has grown dramatically.
Aggie Blue Bikes started here back in 2005 with just 10 bicycles. And now they're up to more than 350 total bikes.
But due to upcoming budget cuts,
We won't be able to have as many 3-month rentals available, and those are the things that are helping the most vulnerable population of students at USU.
Aggie Blue Bikes is a blessing to the Logan environment and to Utah State in general. It would be a severe loss.
Despite the cuts, employees are optimistic its community will continue to grow.
There are like really strong cycling advocates in this community, and there's been lots of people who have stepped up and said like they want to donate or how can they help, and that's been really cool.
It really has become a family, and I'm proud to be part of that family.
Josh Davis, ATV News.
Aggie Blue Bikes also expects to cut all of their events as a result of the budget cuts. If you'd like to borrow a bike for yourself, visit Aggie Blue Bikes just east of the field house.
What would you be willing to do to brighten your kids' day? A Logan mom dances in front of her kids' school. Deanne Ashby started dancing before school when she felt a lack of community because of the pandemic. She wanted a way for her daughter to be social as well as bring smiles to students and parents' faces.
If I can at least put a smirk on their face in the morning, it's fantastic. You know, and it fills my cup. It fills my daughter's cup. It fills the cup of the little kids that come here.
Dee says that she will continue dancing until her legs give out. She wants to do it as long as she can to continue to spread joy to the people of Logan. How would you feel if your mom came and danced in front of your school?
Honestly, I would hate it so much. It'd be so embarrassing.
Really? I think I would actually like go out and dance with her.
Oh, not me.
And coming up.
Kate is such a good passer and scorer from these situations, doing it all himself.
Mountain West basketball honors are in. We'll show you how many Aggie players got recognized in sports.
I'm so excited to start teaching.
And how prepared are these future teachers for taking over the virtual classroom? We'll show you next.
Imagine what you'd see if every child had a book to read. 'Cause every kid across the nation deserves a book to read, and we can make it happen right now. No, I don't know what you've been told, but kids with books learn so much more. So the mission is for us to get a book to each and every child. So let's join hands, book people unite, unearth hidden passion. Come on, have a good time. To motivate some magic, to change the writing on the wall, writing on the wall, and make a difference. One book can inspire a child. One book can be the first thing that helps to change a life.
Read to a child today and spark a lifetime of ambition.
Hi, I'm Peter. And there's nothing I love more than sharing vegetables with my friends. Come on in! Help yourself to anything. That's why we give our food the utmost respect it deserves. Did you know there are simple steps we can all take to help save food? You can cook it, store it, even share it. Just don't waste it. Because when it comes to food, better ate than never. To learn more, visit savethefood.com.
Oh, look, a redhead. Staring contest. You still got it. I know. Come alive with the forest. The dad was cute.
You were looking right at us.
Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you.
It's the March Madness Bracket Challenge.
Welcome to ATV Sports March Madness Bracket Challenge. I'm your host, Sarah Murphy. Now in this bracket, it's Utah State men's basketball taking on all other USU spring sports. Now first, we're going to take a look at men's cross country versus women's cross country in our first bracket of the day. Both teams competed at the Mountain West Championships in Las Vegas, but it was one race that really set one team apart from the other.
So here we go.
Junior Caleb Garnica sprinted to the finish line neck and neck with sophomore Sam Gilman from Air Force with that last second pull through to capture first in the men's 8 kilometer. The men's team finished in second place overall, while the women's team took fourth place. Now the men's placing moves them on to the next round. Next, we're going to go to men's and women's tennis. Even though the men did win their match on Monday at Northern Arizona 4-3, they lost to Utah 4-0 on Saturday, and, well, that hurts. The women, who beat both New Mexico State and UTEP, they are going to be advancing to the next round. Up next, we have women's volleyball and men's golf. The volleyball team played UNLV, where the Rebels swept the Aggies in 3.
5 sets, Frank. Easy kill there for her.
Kill after kill from the Aggies on Thursday, like this one you're about to see that's coming from junior middle blocker Corinne Larson right here. Straight down the middle, but it wasn't enough as the Rebels pulled out all the stops to, like this block. Both teams were supposed to play again on Saturday at the Spectrum for the first time in 8 years, but UNLV claimed they had a COVID case, so they didn't play. The men's golf team competed at the 2-day Jackrabbit Invitational in Boulder City, Nevada. They finished in third place, but technically, even though the volleyball team lost, they were in second place, so volleyball is going to be advancing. Moving on, we have softball and women's soccer. On the pitch, although the Aggies got their first goal of the season, Colorado State scored 2, taking the win. Now, softball sent UC San Diego back to the beaches with a 5-1 victory on Friday, moving them to the next level in their tournament and the next level in our bracket. Moving on to the second round here, men's cross country is nationally ranked, but more importantly, they got an invite to the NCAA tournament for the second consecutive year and the third time in school history. Now, they found out this news on Monday and they were filled with cheers, especially when they found out that not just the men's team, but individual women's athlete, senior distance runner Katie Haviland also will be getting a chance to compete as an individual. Head coach Artie Golden says he's proud of his athletes' work ethic and their determination.
Everybody really has played a part, and to do something that very few, if anybody else, outside of our team believed that we could do, well, that's always special.
Now, up against men's cross country, we have women's tennis. While women's tennis ranked number 8 in the region, great job, ladies, the men's cross country team, they are ranked nationally, so they will be advancing. Next up is softball versus women's volleyball. Softball continued on in their clean sweep in San Diego on Saturday, beating the Tritons 5-3, while volleyball only competed in their single game. Volleyball is out, softball advances. Next, softball takes on men's cross country. Now, softball did win 2 games in a row over the weekend, but with men's cross country second place Mountain West win and their NCAA invitation, softball falls short and cross country moves on. Now, gymnastics over here, down here, gymnastics gets a bye because they're ranked 20th in the nation. So we're getting to the end here with gymnastics coming off their bye to take on men's cross country, with the gymnastics ranked 20th in the nation and cross country ranked 21st. Gymnastics barely sneaks by cross country to secure a place in our bracket final. Now we're on to the final round. Men's basketball coming off their bye versus gymnastics. Now, after their personal records over the weekend, gymnastics had a great meet, but men's basketball has dominated. Junior center Nimish Keita hosted a block party on Thursday against Wyoming. Here it is again. Slapped it down. It was a competitive first half with the Aggies going into halftime only up by 3, but plays like these. Keita with a dunk. Amazing. And another one. Pushed the Aggies over 72-59. Now these victories carried over to Saturday, where they had a win against Fresno State 57-51. On top of these games, men's basketball had some other wins as well. First up, Nimish Keita. Keita's intense blocks earned him the titles of Mountain West Conference Media Polls Player of the Year, as well as its unanimous Defensive Player of the Year. And if that's not enough, he also was the All-Mountain West First Team Selection and Bleacher Report's National Defensive Player of the Year. Joining him is senior forward Alfonso Anderson, named Mountain West Media 6th Man of the Year, and junior center Justin Bean, who was named 2nd Team All-Mountain West. Also, we have junior guard Brock Miller, who received honorable mention, and junior guard Marco Anthony named Mountain West Coaches Poll All-Defensive Team. So, using all this information, the winner of the USU March Madness Bracket Challenge is men's basketball. Now, yes, big congratulations to basketball. Great, great job. But let's move on to the competition that has the entire nation scheduling out their Mondays and screaming at their TVs. The Bachelor. Now, it's not the Stanley Cup, it's not the Vince Lombardi Trophy, but it is the final rose. And we find out who gets it on Monday. Taking a quick look at our bracket here, Matt James, he was one lucky guy starting the season with 39 women. Over a 9-week period, 35 women were sent home, leaving just 4 contestants left last week. Let's take a look at these last 4 contestants in our bracket. We have Serena, Michelle, Brie, and Rachel. Now, all 4 made it to hometown dates, but after Matt met her family, Serena, she self-eliminated, leaving just 3 contestants left. In this week's episode, we saw Matt sent Brie home, claiming he just wasn't feeling it. So this leaves our final 2 contestants as Michelle Young and Rachel Kirkconnell. We're gonna have to wait for the big winner reveal next week, but until then, let us know your guesses and picks at the end of our special Bachelor Edition quiz on our Facebook page. You're now caught up on all your USU sports and Bachelor brackets for the week. We'll see what happens with Michelle and Rachel on Monday. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Sarah. Franklin, Idaho is honoring an FBI agent who killed public enemy number 1. Agent Samuel Cowley was born near his placard in Franklin, Idaho in 1899. The placard says that he had a stellar career in the FBI where he was instrumental in finding and killing of John Dillinger and then later Lester Babyface Nelson Gillis, who were both considered public enemy number 1 at the time Cowley helped find them. Cowley died in the shootout that also killed Nelson J. Edgar Hoover, said that Cowley was the bravest man he ever knew.
Navigating the pandemic can be a learning curve for us, and teachers are no exception. Kiki Tui-Leta shows us how future teachers are studying to pass the test.
Education students are learning the game ahead of time so they can log into the classroom like a pro.
These teachers who are teaching teachers are giving a real-life example of the compassion that you should be showing to your students in this sort of a situation.
Students say the first-hand experience learning in a COVID classroom helps.
I get ideas based on what I'm introduced to. What I've kind of been doing is taking notes of things that I think work well and things that I think are less effective, and I've kind of been trying to take note of that.
But it's still an adjustment.
It takes a lot of initiative on the part of an education student to get all of the resources that you need or to get understanding from those resources.
It can be difficult making connections with people through screens like these, but students are hopeful that the differences they've seen in their remote learning will be beneficial to their future students.
Education is a very innovative career these days. People are realizing that we can't just do the same things to be successful.
The post-COVID world in the classroom is going to look very, very different from the pre-COVID world.
But regardless of what it will look like,
I'm obviously excited to start teaching. I'm so excited to start teaching.
Kiki Tui-Leta, ATV News.
The College of Education has a 94% placement rate for certified graduates looking for employment. Thanks for joining us on this edition of ATV News. You can find past editions on our Facebook page.
We'll leave you with a look inside Aggie Blue Bikes and the puppy who lives inside.